This is a very special late week edition of the Ohio Podcast Show. I'm one of your co-hosts, Delicious Nicolicious.
I am the robust Rob Dog here with ya.
We are not frozen in Ohio yet. Tomorrow it's going to be a wind chill of approximately negative 40 degrees.
I was pretty frozen today, I'm not going to lie.
That number keeps dropping just like my nuts.
Yeah, they're not going to be dropping tomorrow, buddy.
No, they're not going to be dropping tomorrow.
And I have to get a crowbar to pry them off your thighs.
I can't wait. It's going to be so exciting. So, Rob Dog, I have to ask you, are you a morning sex guy or an evening sex guy?
Evening.
Evening, very much so. I can't do morning sex.
I get really horny in the morning.
That's called morning wood. There's science behind that.
But I never have time to fuck in the morning, so it's like I just got to suck it up.
Not only that, I can't deal with morning breath. If your breath smells like the crapper, I'm not touching that snapper.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Amen.
I'm not doing. Morning breath has got to be the worst thing in the entire world.
Disgusting.
Do you think there are women out there that don't suffer from morning breath? They just wake up and their breath smells like Fruit Loops and cherries and shit?
I don't know. I would hope.
If you're a listener of the Brohio Podcast and you don't suffer from morning breath, write us an email, brohiopodcast@gmail.com. Let us know how that works, how we can achieve that.
Man.
I wake up with slobber stuck in my because I'm just now getting used to this facial hair stuff I got going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I found out that when you get wetness on your face, you can go for another 2 hours, and that wetness will like maintain in the chin hairs.
You got to dry it off, man.
Yeah. So I'll wake up with morning wood on my face.
Been there.
I'll wake up with some slobber in my beard, and I'll get ready for work, and then I'll drive to work, and then I'll sit down at work. Mind you, I've been out of bed for 2 hours, and I'll wipe my chin, and it's still wet. I'm like, ew,
oops,
ew.
Where'd that come from?
And it stinks.
My mustache right at the very bottom was frozen when I was working outside today, so that was pretty fun.
That's every day at my work.
Yeah,
man.
it's fucking horrible.
It gets crunchy.
Yeah, it does. It really does crunch too.
We'd like to say thank you to our brand new Patreon subscribers. If you're one of them, thank you so much for making the world go round. We've got lots of summer trips planned. We're going to have to get some hotels and stuff, so
ooh, yeah.
Luckily, we're not going to have to pay for that, thanks to you guys. First up is Amanda Rosemarie. Amanda Rosemarie, I don't know if that's your real name, but your last name, Rosemarie, that's completely majestic. Thank you so much for being a Patreon pledger.
Thank you. Next, we got Brooke Corona Taylor. I know I said that wrong, but I'm sorry.
She's from the land down under, Australia.
Ah, okay.
And it just so happens that our article is from Australia as well.
That means it's got to be good.
And thank you, Justin Ryan, so much for your Patreon pledge. You're just like my kids. They like to eat the fucking rind because they don't know how to peel oranges. They're slow. They don't like to peel stuff, so they just eat the rind and everything.
It's the lazy way out.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. Nikki Kennedy. Canady.
Thank you so much, Miss Kennedy.
Thank you.
Jeremy Reed. Listen, Jeremy, we've known you for a long time, brother. Thank you so much for what you're doing for us. I know we've gone through some shit. We've gone through some stuff.
Who hasn't?
And the world's brought us full circle back to where we are right now, and we're so thankful for you. Actually, we don't know Jeremy at all. But Jeremy, we're fucking brothers. Got it?
Amen.
If you'd like to have a shout on the Brohio Podcast Show, join us on Patreon for $1. Patreon.com/Brohio Podcast.
It's where dreams happen.
You get really special shout-outs like the ones from this week.
Where all the magic happens.
I have no fucking clue what's going on.
No idea.
And to help streamline the podcast this week, I've moved our events to the end of the show.
Hey, okay.
So we're going to move right on into the article here. So we try and clear that 15 minutes of just random fucking shit at the beginning.
All right.
Because some people don't like that.
Yeah.
And we care about what the people think.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we do.
Speaking of caring what the people think, go drop us a review on iTunes. We're marching towards 2,000 on there.
Ooh.
We're currently we're going to be on the main page of, Society and Culture, which is a huge deal on iTunes.
Yeah, killing it. Keep it up, guys. Thank you.
Our downloads keep going up. We had a huge uptick downloads on YouTube and our stats for the Chris Watts episode. But then we had a review from Sweden, of all places.
Okay.
It was a 1-star, but it doesn't show up on our American landing page. And the lady said all they do is, what's that? What's the word when you talk bad about females? I can't pronounce it. Misogynist or misogynist?
Misogynistic.
Misogynistic. I'll massage a female. I massage my wife all the time. But she said we were misogynist. Misogynist. She said we were being very misogynist. And I said, hey, That lady was a fucking bitch. Not the lady from Sweden. Thanks for listening. Thanks for giving us the time you did. That you did with the
we calls them as we sees them.
The girlfriend. I think she was completely involved in all this.
Yeah.
And we called her a cunt. Not acceptable, apparently. And Sweden.
I thought over across the water they were okay with the word cunt.
Not Sweden. They're very.
Okay.
I mean, have you tried Swedish fish before? Those people
you
are
shaky cunt.
Yeah. Those people are absolutely incredible over there. They're not like us. They're just really nice.
I guess that's true.
They just eat pastries and I think.
I don't know.
And our article this week comes from the way of the land down under Australia. It says an Australian woman who felt something bite her bottom.
Sorry.
Taking the clothes off. Ooh, she naked. While she was sitting on the toilet, looked inside the bowl to see a coiled python. Helen Richards of Chapel Hill, Queensland, said she was midstream. Okay, they shit in streams in Australia. I'll take that. I'll note that.
Can you just imagine looking down and seeing a snake attached to your pooper?
Well, I got on the clothes group this week, and I said, what's a good word for taking a creamy shit in Australia? And our guy named Evo said, groggin. I sat down, I was taking me a big old groggin. That's a big old greasy hangover shit.
Okay, that's a good word.
I didn't have any idea that there was a real thing. That I was expecting, them to be like, oh, it's just called taking a shit, man, mate, bloke. No, I sat down, I took me a big old groggin. So next time you gotta take you a big old hangover.
Groggin sounds descriptive. Like it sounds like that's what it would be describing.
I know. Next time you gotta take you a big old McDonald's shit. Don't say, oh, I gotta go to the potty. Say, I gotta go in there and take me a big old groggin. Oh man. Ellen Richards of Chapel Hill, Queensland said she was midstream. I'm still picturing just someone bent over the loo shooting fucking shit out of their ass in the form of water.
Just standing on a rock.
On the toilet when she felt a sharp pain in her rear end. As you can imagine, she jumped up quite quickly, snake catchers Brisbane, Ipswich, Logan, and Gold Coast said in a Facebook post. Richard said she scrambled to turn on the light. When you've got your knickers and long pants around your ankles, it's hard to go anywhere, she told News 10. Oh, Richard said she snapped a quick photo of the python before piling some pots and pans in the toilet lid to keep it contained. She contacted snake catchers Brisbane, Ipswich, Logan, and Gold Coast, which dispatched Jasmine Zellini, that's definitely a fucking Australian Aborigine name, to Richards' home. I can't praise Richards enough for how well she handled the situation, Zellini said. I love snakes, but I don't want one attached to my bum, so I understand. The snake was safely captured, and Richards' bite from the non-venomous serpent was treated with antiseptic spray. Hold on a second. Antiseptic spray?
Yeah.
That's fucking Australian, man. They're built from a...
They're just immune to the poison.
Zellini said snakes turn up in toilets from time to time, but the incident was the first she had heard of one of the reptiles biting someone in the buttocks. So a few weeks ago, I said, does anyone listening to the Bro High podcast ever have their nuts dipped down in the water?
Yeah.
And then we had a whole bunch of guys write, oh, I can't believe your balls don't sit in the fucking water. And I'm like, man, my balls don't sit in the water when I take a shit. These guys, they're writing this, my fucking balls go all the way down the hole and they wrap up around the trap. If I flush the toilet with my balls in the water, I'll suck them down in the fucking sewer. So next time you guys with your big droopy balls sit down, think about a goddamn retinical Burmese fucking king cobra sitting in the water, bites onto your ball sack, and you got to have some fucking, witch doctor from fucking Zimbabwe suck the venom out of your ball sack.
Hey.
You guys want to make that power move and send us emails telling us how big your balls dangle down.
Sign me up for the Zimbabwe guy, though.
Yeah, I love witch doctors. I think they're completely cool.
Come on, suck my nuts, boy.
I laughed so hard I farted a little bit on that one. These leather chairs, man, they really dampen it. Oh, no. And as you can tell this week, we are covering the Oklahoma City bombings. This is a Patreon-sponsored episode.
Yeah, we're going from one shithead last week to another shithead this week.
Absolutely. This is Justin Rockwell. His wife purchased this.
I'm like sitting here clearing my throat every 2 seconds. I'm a little under the weather.
Rob's very sick right now. Give it a few hours.
I'm trying.
He'll be dead. Now, Justin, this is his birthday present. We talked to him on his birthday back in the summertime. That's how back up we are with these Patreon episodes. We're trying our best. We're trying our absolute best.
Happy, really belated birthday.
Yeah, and we're going to call him and interview him at the end of the episode. Cool. And all week long, he 1,000 topics he was kicking our way. He had a lot of ideas, but he eventually settled on this, and he said, I think this will be a good one for you guys. Let's check it out. So, Rob Dog, I'm going to throw it to you.
All right.
We split the research up in 3 different ways this week, so you're going to get the wiener from all different directions if that's what you're into.
You'll get a backstory, you'll get the actual story itself, and then you'll get a little bit of afterthoughts.
Yes.
So we'll start out here talking about as you know, let's say if you're.
Hold on a second. I got to cut you off for a second. I went through the McDonald's drive-thru last night.
Okay.
They got bacon on the Big Macs now, and they got cheese and bacon on the fucking French fries. Holy shit, man. Where's that been our entire life?
I like how urgent of an announcement
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I was thinking about that, man. Bacon on the Big Macs?
That's next level.
You just picked up a staple gun like you're going to shoot yourself in the face. Are you okay over there?
No, I keep looking at it, and I'm like, what the fuck is this thing doing over here?
Well, we'll get there. There's going to be a scientific demonstration.
Okay, great.
I'll let you get back on this. Sorry to interrupt you like that.
Oh, yeah. But if anybody knows anything about the Oklahoma City bombings, you're going to know, of course, of Timothy McVeigh. So we're going to get into a little bit of his early life, kind of what led him up to this catastrophe.
Yeah.
He's pretty much a shitbag, of course, as you can assume.
If you guys want to, there's a website on the internet you can follow around. You can follow my research. It's called wikipedia.com. I went to a bunch of different places for my research this week.
Man, same. Like all my stuff at the end, like Wikipedia had it.
Yeah,
everything else was like
it was laid out perfectly.
It seemed as if everybody else's information they got was off of Wikipedia as well.
Yeah,
it seemed to follow the same flow.
And we usually don't like to get all of our research from Wikipedia, but it happened this week. So
it was. I mean,
I watched some documentaries.
It's like the Mecca.
Well, I watched some really thorough documentaries this week on Netflix. There's one by PBS that's really good that lays it all out. That it tingles in with Waco and Ruby Ridge as well. So it ties it all together. It's a fantastic documentary. If you think we suck and you want to turn us off right now, completely fine, because we all know the most fun part of the show is the beginning, and now it sucks.
It's all downhill from here.
It sucks till about an hour and 15 minutes when we hit the stop recording button.
Very true. So, Oklahoma City bombing, we got Timothy McVeigh, who is responsible for killing 168 people and injuring over 680 in the bombing itself. And this is men, women, children. It's every walks of life. It's a horrible, horrible disaster. It was second, at the time, it was the first deadliest act of terrorism in the U.S., but of course, it all goes to the side when 9/11 comes into play.
I don't think we'll ever do a 9/11 episode.
Yeah. There's some things when I get to the very end, where there's a lot of similarities between the theories between Oklahoma City and 9/11.
Okay.
There's a lot of corroborating stories that
I
are
would
kind
be
of
cool with the 9/11 conspiracy episode to actually cover the events.
Yeah, I don't really want to cover the events.
No,
it's wild.
Yeah.
So let's get into a little bit of his backstory before we get into the meat and the potatoes. So good old Mr. McVeigh here was born on April 23rd, 1968. This is Lockport, New York. There wasn't really too much of important events going through his early life. His father worked for General Motors. His mother worked for a travel agency, and they actually separated. They separated, I think, 3 times total, and the last time they separated was in '84.
Sounds like his mother was a prostitute.
She may have been.
I worked for a travel agency. That woman sure does care about your schooling, boy.
So, they say that the separation of his parents could have affected him mentally, which, I don't know about. I'm assuming something like that when you're growing up it's going to affect everybody differently. They said, he seemed to be okay from it. It was, nobody really noticed, but that's what, looking back, what people think that may have caused him to go a little.
I wonder if his
shit.
grandpa ever set him down and said, "Boy, the reason your mama and daddy is splitting up is because you a fucking rubber dickhead. You dumber than a sack of rubber dicks. Ain't nobody like you. The best part of you ran down the crack of your mama's ass, ended up on the floor, and we vacuumed it up.
Dog licked it
the
up.
The dog licked it up and then shit it out in the yard. Then you got ate by some birds, boy. The best part of you got ate by some goddamn cardinals and robins out there in the backyard."
That's a fun little chain of events, though. It could have explained a lot.
Yeah.
In school, it is said that he was often bullied. So classmates of his recall him as being quiet and small and skinny.
I heard this during the documentary. You know what his nickname was in school?
I think I heard it too, but I don't remember what it was.
Noodle McVeigh.
No, I didn't. Never mind.
Get over here, Noodle. Noodle, show him how small your wiener is. Look, guys. Look.
Now, while he was in school, he didn't really have any success in any other type of extracurricular activities, like any type of sports, anything. And this is this will go on all throughout his life, is that anything that he ever started, he eventually quits. He's a fucking quitter.
He's dead, Rob. You can say he fucking sucked at everything he did.
Oh, obviously he did. The only thing he was ever good at is fucking killing people.
Yeah.
Which,
never
mind that. He's a piece of shit.
He's a piece of shit. He's dead.
Now, as a teenager, this is where he starts to begin to notice that he gets really, really interested in guns. So, in 1986, this is the year that your boy Rob Diggity Dangle Dog was shot out of his mama's cooter. He graduated high school. Now, after graduation, he entered a 2-year business college that he shortly attended because, of course, he dropped out afterwards.
2-year business college?
I think he was in it for like 3 months.
I don't know, Mom. I think 4 years is a long time. I think I can do it in 2 for sure.
So this time, he was staying with his dad and working at Burger King. So you got to quit business school and go to Burger King. So this was around the time where he starts to get into the Turner Diaries. This is by William Luther Pierce. Now, anybody that's familiar with the Turner Diaries, this is pretty much just it's an anti-government.
It's the ode to all white supremacy.
Yeah, it's called the Bible of the Racist Right, Handbook for White Victory. And
it's what they had Donald Trump put his hand on when he swore in.
Oh, shit.
I made that up, I think. I don't know.
It may have been. That would explain a lot.
Huge.
William Luther Pierce, the author, was head of a neo-Nazi group as well, so that kind of tells you what's going on there. The book outlined at the beginning, it outlined the truck bombing of the FBI headquarters in D.C. and helped build a paranoia in McVeigh, thinking that the government was going to repeal the Second Amendment. This was like his huge.
I hate that shit, man.
This was his huge thing. Like, he was so paranoid that they were gonna try to take his guns.
Ain't nobody gonna come take my goddamn guns. I'll go downstairs and take my sister's virginity, but ain't nobody taking my guns. You come try and take my guns, you're gonna have to suck on his dick first. They don't call me Noodle McVeigh for nothing.
Noodle McVeigh, I love that. In 87, he got a job as a security guard in an armed car, and he got a permit to carry.
You mean a wannabe cop?
Yeah.
Gun owner became a security guard?
Who would have known?
Strange how that works out.
And actually, I remember I was reading I was watching a documentary with his childhood neighbors who were an older couple, and I think she said that she was the one that actually signed for his permit. She okayed him. She was talking about how much she loved him and how good of a kid he was. He used to babysit her kids, and all this shit.
Those kids are all fucking potatoes now.
they're all dead now.
My favorite flavor noodles is crayon.
Doorknob.
Yeah. Look how far I can put the doorknob in my butt.
You ever put a doorknob in your ass before?
I have not.
So we used to do this thing to each other. My little brother, when I was a kid, we'd bend his leg up and then put his foot in his underwear, like give him a wedgie, and then bend his foot up towards his back,
right,
and hook the underwear around his foot, and then like he would just lay there like a fucking crippled crab and just like spinning in circles. And then we would pick him up and just hang him from the doorknob by his underwear. So
oh man,
the underwear jammed up his ass,
his legs tucked,
and his foot is stuck like a. We'd call it the reverse unicorn. I don't know why we call it that, but it was called the reverse unicorn.
It just looks like what a turtle would look like out of its shell.
Yeah.
Poor guy. Now, a coworker at this time said that McVeigh had a big stockpile of weapons, no surprise, and he also began to stockpile supplies for what he believed was going to be the downfall of society. So he was pretty much getting ready for the collapse of the government.
He'd have been first in line to help build the fucking wall for sure.
Exactly. And he actually eventually ended up purchasing 10 acres of land that they could use to practice shooting.
Oh, good.
So, I mean, yeah, that's a reasonable purchase. Let's go ahead and buy 10 acres of land to shoot guns.
Ain't you guys ever heard of shooting ranges before? No, man, we gotta buy our own. We gotta buy our own goddamn cornfield.
I mean, they did live in like a real like rural area, so yeah. So I mean, who knows? Maybe it would have been easier. He ended up enlisting in the Army in 1988 and actually ended up earning a Bronze Star for bravery in the Persian Gulf War. From what I've read and from what I've seen, he pretty much was a model soldier. This was like the only thing he was like actually successful at in life.
His leaders, I should say, the people in charge of him took note of how well he led and how much of a leader he was and how he was always about it and just ready to do whatever. And that was kind of his shtick, though, was the Army, man. You get to play with guns and blow shit up, and that's kind of your life. That's kind of, you're going to be good at it. So
he put all of it, pretty much everything that he did. He would just spent his time studying and perfecting being a soldier, and pretty much just familiarizing himself with the weapons and everything. It's just he spent all of his time doing that. Other soldiers, they would go out, and go to the bars for the dollar drafts or whatever. He would actually stay in, clean his guns. He would do hikes with rocks in his book bag. And this is no joke. Like everybody would go out and socialize with each other, and he would stay back and just fucking wax his guns and shit.
Did you read the story about the one night when they all came back and raped him?
No.
I couldn't find anything about it, but I know it happened.
I'm sure it did.
Yeah.
I'm sure it did. And he was also...
Bend over and touch your toes. I'll show you where the monster goes.
He would get the other soldiers. He would talk to them about the Turner Diaries, and he would try to turn them on to it.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
So he's like a crazy Christian.
Oh,
but
well, you're doing a real nice job shooting the target, man. How do you feel about black people?
How do you talk to people about the Turner Diaries and not? Oh man, I don't fucking get it. I don't get the room for racism. I can't fucking get it.
It's so bizarre.
It is.
People are weird. I don't know. In 1991, he was sent to participate in the war. He was in action in February. He went to action in February of 1991. Now, after this, he eventually ended up testing for Special Forces.
He's gonna be a ranger.
Yeah, and quit doing this after 2 days.
The documentary I watched, you're like,
after several,
I don't know, it was like grueling. It made it sound like he was in there for a few weeks. I'm reading your research. He's in there for 2 fucking days.
Yeah, no, it was only a couple days when he actually ended up quitting. From what I watched in the documentary that I watched, from what they said, was that he, during his time where he was actually in action, he started to realize that the war that they were fighting was completely unnecessary.
Well, that's kind of how it goes.
Yeah, it wasn't something he said. Someone said that he was first. He went buck wild. He was the gunner in a tank. He was using the and one guy was saying that he used the cannon portion of the tank to shoot one guy.
Okay, one guy.
Yeah. So he was a crazy good shot. He missed the first time and nailed him, and the dude pretty much exploded the second time. But he said what really turned, because this was one of the only guys that was able to get an interview with him before he died, and he kind of talked about his Army experience. And he said he really lost interest when they were fighting, and then as our troops were closing in on them, they would like run. They would try to get out of the area. Yeah. They would try to do whatever they could to not fight, because they realized how outgunned they were and how much more of an advantage our soldiers had as opposed to them.
Yeah.
But their orders were still, take these guys out.
Right.
So they were pretty much shooting people in the back as they're running, and it's just all this crazy stuff. So at this point in time, this is what started to sour him on the military, and he eventually ended up discharging early and left in the fall of 91. So this is February 91. He was in action. By fall of that year, he was already, discharging himself and leaving, because his heart wasn't in it anymore. He kind of realized that, it was pretty much
that's kind of what America does, though. That's what we do.
Yeah, we like to stick our nose in things that we don't have to.
Kill people for oil and stuff.
Yeah. Hey, that's kind of another similar Similar thing to the 9/11 right there. That's
Yeah.
the,
Okay. All right.
the good old false flags there. So at the beginning of the next year, McVeigh returned home and continued working as a security guard. He did this for about a year until he decided to move away. Now, he traveled all around the country pretty much, living in cheap motels and trailer parks and staying with two of his army buddies, one in Arizona and one in Michigan. And one of the people that he would stay with was one of his co-conspirators in the bombing. So he gets brought back in later.
Yes, he does.
Mr. Nichols.
Mr. Nichols. Terry?
Mr. Nipples.
Is it Terry? I think it's Terry Nichols. Okay.
Yeah, sounds right. So, as he was moving around, he ended up in 1993 in Waco, Texas. Now, at this time, when he was there, he actually went to Waco, Texas, and he was he was selling bumper stickers.
I saw that.
He was selling pro weapon and pro gun weapon bumper stickers.
There was a picture of him with his bumper sticker sprawled out across
the hood of his car.
And there's swastikas and shit on him.
Yeah, swastikas on him and everything. It was wild. I mean, I don't know, but if you know anything about Waco, Texas, and what happened there, to kind of get into it a little bit, this is where the Branch Davidians had a standoff with federal agents.
Yeah.
So the Branch Davidians were for lack of better words, a religious cult, and they and the ATF ended up. That's what's that? Why can't I think of what the abbreviation for?
Alcohol, tobacco, and
firearms.
firearms.
There you go. Thank you. I couldn't remember what the A was, and of course it's alcohol, which I should definitely know about. They had a standoff, and 76 people, just including men, women, and children, were killed. And so this was one of the incidents that started even pushing him even farther away from, or actually I should say closer to, an anti-government leaning.
Yeah.
He was starting to go really radical right. And then also after this, you have the Ruby Ridge incident, which we covered, and that was a crazy.
Yeah, Ruby Ridge was before Waco.
Okay, yeah. So
he was pissed off about both of those.
Yeah, both of these left a really, really deep impression on him, and kind of molded him to really, want to keep the guns.
It wasn't just him though. It was all white supremacists in general. That was. It's okay to have, in my opinion, it's okay to have firearms, but once you just they're coming to take our fucking guns. Man, it's been 300 years and they haven't took our guns.
Right. Let's face the facts. I mean, they can't.
They can try.
They can try. That's what I'm saying. They can try. But I mean, just like anything else, they can try to take away drugs. It's not gonna
work.
It's just gonna make it an underground market, which I mean there already is with it being legal. So I mean, what are you really doing? But I mean, anytime you have a situation like Waco, Texas, or Ruby Ridge, you're gonna get these radical rights who are going to go crazy about them pushing gun control.
Right.
Because of course the issue of gun control is going to be pushed because you're looking at all of these two huge incidents where a lot of people died due to gunfire. Yeah. So it's it's inevitable. It's going to come up. That's what's going to happen.
Right.
And all of this pretty much leads up to the plans up to September of 1994, which you can go into.
Yeah. So we covered August 92, Ruby Ridge, and we also covered Waco as well. The just like Rob said, the taste that was left in the mouth of McVeigh and other extreme right white supremacy groups, that's absolutely what fueled his hate towards the government and absolutely was the catalyst for what he was trying to achieve by, doing what he did. Some people don't want to call it a terrorist attack, but at the end of the day, it was a fucking terrorist attack.
Oh, absolutely.
Neo-Nazis and the Aryan Nation, those are terrorist organizations to me. Whether you, if you don't believe that, then go fuck yourself.
I mean, they really are. I would say anytime you're in a group where you're trying to push one race in front of another,
Yeah,
and
a hate group.
with radical means.
Yeah.
It's
you got nothing for it. You can
exactly
suck on his dick.
Eat shit.
Oh, but like we said, the beginning of my researcher was touching on what happened at Waco and what happened at Ruby Ridge. But we've covered Ruby Ridge a couple episodes ago, and Rob kind of touched on the Waco siege as well. There were approximately 75 people that were killed during the Waco siege. The FBI took extreme measures during the standoff. It was a 51-day standoff. So think about that. When you see the news, there'd be a SWAT standoff, and you'll see a SWAT team lying on someone's front yard, crowded around the windows. It takes a few hours. They were doing that for 51 days straight. And the FBI took some very unconventional measures to get them to come out. They set up speakers, and they were blaring music at this group. They played
what would they play in order to make you leave?
They played cats or rabbits screaming. I'm serious. This is what they played.
What about alley cats? Yeah, alley cats. That would get me going.
And they played that song. These boots are made for walking over and over and over and over and over again.
If you just play "It's a Small World" over on loop, I'm getting the fuck out of there.
That'll make you die.
Or the Lamb Chop song.
I've heard at Guantanamo Bay, which would be another good topic for us, that they play before. Before a lot of things changed there, but they would just play Metallica as loud as it would fucking go 24/7, which that's fine with me. I mean, some Metallica is, not all of it. I'm not cool with all the Metallica.
If they play Saint Anger over and over again, I'll want to kill myself. But
I like Saint Anger. Come on, man. And, like we said, there was just the unconventional means they used, the measures they took to flush these people out, made it seem like they weren't necessarily. All is right in love and war, or what is it? All is fair in love and war,
there
right?
You go. Yep.
It kind of rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, the way they were going about achieving what they were trying to achieve. The FBI completely was not prepared for what happened to Waco, but what happened, there was a lot of blood on the FBI's hand at the end of the day, just like at Ruby Ridge. Like when we talked about Ruby Ridge, that probably didn't need to happen.
Hell no.
There was definitely
that poor dog.
Yeah,
I'm still not over that.
Yeah, right. It absolutely it didn't need to happen. But this was the fuel on the fire for Timothy McVeigh and Terry Nichols. Now, another part of what pissed them off so much is Nichols. His first name was Terry, so that'll
fuck you up.
He was
there.
A man. Usually, women with really short haircuts, their names are Terry. But this guy's name was Terry, which is...
At least it wasn't with an I.
Terry!
Terry with an I.
Sometimes we get a little guy that comes on the show. His name's Cemetery Terry. He be sneaking around the cemeteries. He gets his toothbrush out. And sometimes you think you're laying there dead and your headstone's all dirty. Cemetery Terry. He'll swing on by. He'll get the toothbrush out and he'll start scrubbing the dirt off your headstone. And then when you all done with getting your dirt scrubbed off your headstone, he'll lie down in the grass and he'll peel his foreskin back and he'll start to jack off right there in the middle of the cemetery. I want to say, hey, what's that boy out there doing in the middle of the cemetery? That's Cemetery Terry up there. You have himself a little jerk, man. He up there setting booby traps. You think them boys sneaking through the cemetery in the middle of the night, they're going to cause some vandalism until they step in one of them booby traps that Cemetery Terry put down. You ever step on a booby trap before?
It's over if you step in a booby trap. It's game over.
You ever suck on some boobies before?
Yes, I have.
I love sucking on boobies.
Goddamn Cemetery Terry. Now, McVeigh, he was initially torn. Okay, he didn't know if he wanted to blow up a fucking building, burn the whole entire world down. His inspirations in the beginning, he wanted to just assassinate someone. And I think number one on his list was Janet Reno.
Which, of course, he gave up on that idea, too. It's like everything else in his fucking life.
You fucking quitter. And I went back, and I'm like, man, Janet Reno, that's a really famous name in political history. She was the attorney general for a long time. But then I looked up a picture of her. I'm like, man, she probably never got fucked in her entire life. And that...
I don't remember what she looks like. Let me look at her.
Oh, man. Probably got a heart of gold, man. But she seems like the kind of person you would... you would walk your dogs for, and she would pay you like $300 for one time. Just that kind of person.
Oh, Jesus, look at her.
I know. She looks like a linebacker for sure.
She looks like someone who really enjoys licking envelopes.
She's a hottie with a body, that's for sure. I will say that. So he didn't go through. You looking at pictures of her? Is she in the fappening? Yeah, she looks like my dad. She looks like she teaches 7th grade math.
She looks like a librarian.
Mr. Reno? That's Mrs. Reno to you, shitbag. Now, he later moved his target to a federal building in general. It wasn't necessarily the Murrah building like what was bombed the day of the Oklahoma City bombings. But he didn't think by bombing a federal building in general that would get his point across. In his eyes, he needed more people to die than what would be affected in strictly a federal building. He knew that wherever his attack took place, he wanted the ATF, which stands for Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, the Federal Bureau of Investigations, and the Drug Enforcement Agency to be involved. He wasn't a complete animal, though. In his biography, he does have an authorized biography you guys can go check out. He stated that he wanted as little amount as non-government employees affected as possible. I think the way to remedy that is to blow up a fucking daycare.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The truck was right outside of where the daycare was, which is
some of the people
pisses me off.
Some of the family that spoke. I didn't read about this, but one of the mothers of the victims, one of the older victims, her mother spoke and said that he went in to the daycare and spoke to the daycare coordinator, and he knew that it was there, that there was absolutely proof that he had been there and talked to people in the daycare before the attack took place. But in December of 1994, McVeigh and his cohort, 40-year, I don't know, I didn't see him a lot in my research, but he's definitely a main player. His name is spelled Fortier. If it's Fortier or Fortier, I'm not sure.
Let's say Fortier, because that sounds funner.
Fortier, sure.
Fortier.
They visited the Alfred. This was in December of 94. They visited the Alfred P. Murrah building and decided that was going to be their target. This kitty cat's back there scratching on some wood. She said, I got to scratch my nails out real quick. I don't care if you boys are podcasting or not.
She's getting into some
It's
stuff.
a wild puss. Now, previously, this building was targeted by other white supremacy groups. And they were, their plan was to drive a bomb underneath of it, I think underneath of it, or drive a bomb into it somehow and just blow the fucking place up. And they wanted, more specifically, the FBI to be involved. So this was not a target that was, it had been talked about before, I'm sure, in the circles that he ran with, especially coming from, what diaries? The Turner diaries.
Yeah.
It was the Murrah building was a 9-story building. It housed 14 federal agencies, including the DEA, ATF, Social Security Administration, and recruiting offices for the Army and Marine Corps.
I feel like that's probably a bad idea to put all of those federal entities into one building.
But when you do these things, you don't really take into consideration, like, hey, someone's probably going to want to come blow this fucking place up.
Yeah.
You got to think about the World Trade Center. How much stuff was there? Or it's just if it was a more, I guess, calculated attack where more people was involved, I guess it kind of helps that maybe everything was in one building. Because if they pulled 10 of these Ryder trucks all over the city, it would have wiped Oklahoma City off the fucking map if that would have happened. It did have a huge glass front that was very appealing to them because they thought, we blow this place up, the glass is just gonna destroy a lot more than what would traditionally be destroyed if we have glass, shrapnel going all over the place. Rob's
smacking my microphone over here.
Mic like it's
I'm sorry.
Wiener over there. There was kind of an area around the building that was a wide open space, almost like a parking lot or a buffer of some type. And McVeigh thought, like, if he blew up this building, the Murrah building, that picture alone would be excellent white supremacy propaganda photos. To have just the rubble all by itself, it would be a perfect picture for what he was trying to achieve.
The picture of that building afterwards, is ridiculous.
And we'll get into this later.
So much damage.
No idea how this was pulled off by one person. Well, 2 people, but...
Oh, yeah, we can get into that.
The attack was planned to take place on April 19th, 1995, to coincide with the 2nd anniversary of the Waco siege and the 220th anniversary of the battles of Lexington and Concord. McVeigh and Nichols went several different directions when it came to procuring the materials needed for their attack. In August of 1994, McVeigh obtained 9 kind sticks. It looks like it almost says kink sticks, which sounds really hot, but it says kind sticks. Now, he got these kind sticks from a gun collector named Roger E. Moore and ignited the devices with Nichols outside Nichols' home in Harrington, Kansas. And the shit that they blew up there was absolutely, destroyed, blown to smithereens. So they knew that they were absolutely onto something at that point, that they were going to be able to get enough things and get enough firepower to achieve what they wanted to achieve ultimately. On September 30th of 1994, Nichols bought 40 50-pound bags of ammonium nitrate fertilizer from Mid-Kansas Corps in McPherson, Kansas, and that's enough to fertilize 12.5 acres of farmland at a rate of 160 pounds of nitrogen per acre, an amount commonly used for corn. Not porn, for you, those of you that are jerking off to us right now. That's for corning. That's what the farmers call it when they're harvesting corn. They call that corning. I'm out here corning. You ever been corning before?
I've shoved a cob up my ass. Does that count?
Corning's where you get the corn out of your poop so it's easier to flush.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Eat it. Recycle.
Nichols bought an additional 50-pound bag on October... a 50 fucking pound bag on top of October 18th, 1994. McVeigh approached Fortier and asked him to assist with the bombing project, but he refused. He said, "Hey, man, I'll buy all the bags of shit you want, but I'm not blowing anything up."
Hey, you want to help me build a bomb?
Hey, it's me, Noodle McVeigh. I hate leaving messages, but I'm going to leave you one. So here's my plan. I'm going to put as much cow shit in the back of a truck that I possibly can, and then I'm going to light it on fire. And then I'm going to go sit in the electric chair and get my fucking brains fried.
Actually, I think he got the
injection.
He got the IV, for sure. He got that drip.
Still too good for him.
Yeah, it is. Fortier, like a true God-fearing American, he said, oh, hell no. He didn't say, oh, hell yeah.
I'm sorry, Noodle. I can't do that.
I've reached my shit quota for the year. McVeigh doubled back and robbed the gun store, the gun show guy, Moore. They took about $60,000 worth of valuables from Moore, including there was various firearms, jewelry, everything.
All of his poop.
all of his corn. McVeigh wrote a letter to Moore saying, "The government stole all your shit."
What a dick.
In perfect cursive. Yeah, he wrote him a letter after they robbed his ass blind of $60,000 worth of shit and said,
"I know what you're thinking right now. You're probably really upset with me, but you need to focus your attention on the fucking government, because they're the one that stole this shit from you, not me. They're the ones that kicked your door in and stole all your watches and your guns and had sex with your pet dog."
In October of 94, McVeigh showed Fortier and his wife the plans. 5,000 pounds of ammonium nitrate fertilizer, 1,200 pounds of nitromethane, and 350 pounds of Tovex. Now, Rob, do you know what Tovex is?
I do not.
It's that creamy shit you get from between your toes. If you can gather that in mass quantities and light it on fire, it will destroy everything.
That's so disgusting.
And a good thing the Native Americans used to do, part of seeing how their other people in the tribe were sick, is they would taste each other's Tovex.
Please stop.
If your Tovex is gray,
stop calling it Tovex.
That's what it.
Oh shit!
You can actually, if you get enough of it together, you can finger paint with it, and it's. Actually, that stuff might be called toe jam. That's what I'm thinking of.
Okay.
Tovex is an explosive. Like you can use it in science to blow shit up. For sure.
Use it in science. It says it's a water gel explosive composed of ammonium nitrate and methyl.
So
nitrate.
It's not the creamy shit from between your toe knuckles.
It says it's used it's replacing dynamite. So it's an explosive component.
You ever heard of Vegemite before?
I have.
It's just like Tovex.
Okay.
During the Chief Auto Parts Nationals National Hot Rod Association Drag Racing Championship Series.
Oh my God, that's so American.
Fucking fuel speed.
You know how many mullets were probably there?
Mountain Dew. You had your mullet pulled while you're fucked by another man in a dragster rally.
So many, I guarantee you there was a shit ton of American flag tank tops.
Oh, yeah.
mullets and mustaches.
And if they were wearing sleeves, bub, they had cigarettes rolled up in their sleeves.
Yes, they
bub.
did. Yes,
All
they
right.
did.
And this took place at the Texas Motorplex. He pretended to be a motorcycle rider to get some nitromethane, which was needed for certain types of motorcycle drag racing. There was an elaborate scheme on how he was going to secure the nitromethane, but eventually one of the guys said, "No, we're absolutely positively not going to do that for you." So this there was another guy that he moved on to, and he did sell him the gasoline or the nitromethane that he said he needed for his drag racer. Well, his motorcycle drag racer. But they eventually put two and two together. They said the gas that he needed wasn't anything that was being raced that weekend. So I think at that point, I don't know why, but I forgot to write it down. But they did turn that information over to the FBI. They said, "Hey, this guy's buying a lot of nitromethane. He might be trying to blow some shit up." So at that point, he was on the FBI's radar. Much like we've seen it 1,000 times before, where someone, when what they say for the Department of Homeland Security, if you hear something, say something.
Yeah, definitely.
And how many times has something been said, but then I think the FBI gets so bogged down with these tips that it's hard to follow up on a lot of this stuff. And they're like,
Yeah, and I think it's kind of hard. They kind of have to see how things play out before they know if it's a reputable,
yeah, it's called
tip.
It's called rights. We have them in America,
There you go.
not in Sweden though. They don't have rights.
Amen, brother.
Yeah.
Now, McVeigh had a storage unit, 7 crates in the storage unit. He had 7 crates of 18-inch long Tovek sausages.
Sounds so fun.
That's what they're called.
Sausages.
Oh, I really like some sausages in my mouth. 80 spools of shock tube.
Okay, this is getting kinky.
Here, shove some shock tape down your dick hole.
And 500 electric blasting caps. That's my nickname for my butthole, the blasting cap, which he and Nichols had stolen from a Martin Marietta aggregates quarry in Marion, Kansas. Now, this is to quote Timothy McVeigh. He says, "Think about the people as if they were stormtroopers in Star Wars. They may be individually innocent, but they are all guilty because they work for the evil empire." And this is McVeigh reflecting on the deaths of victims in the bombing. He thought, in his mind, that he was preventing further loss of life by releasing these bombs, and he much likened it to the atomic bombings that we didn't necessarily in Hiroshima and
Nagasaki.
We didn't necessarily need to drop those bombs to win the war. We didn't. I guess in his mind, he
It sure as fuck did win the war, though.
Yeah.
But
Game, set, match, motherfucker.
and we still. I went to a Japanese steakhouse a couple weeks ago. They were really nice to me. So I think it's kind of come and gone at this point. I think everyone's kind of over it. There's probably a few people that aren't over it. But Timothy McVeigh, he was not over it.
hell no.
He didn't think all those people needed to die during World War II. But at the cost of securing world peace, all those people were killed. So in his mind, he's trying to rationalize what makes this okay. By him doing this, what makes this okay? So all this loss of life, all the death of the kids, the women, the men, all of these people need to die for the greater good of America. So something like Ruby Ridge, so a cabin full of racist hillbillies don't get fucking killed in the middle of the day in the middle of the mountains.
In order to stop shit like that, I gotta blow up a daycare.
Man, I have a hard time believing that he. Sometimes words leave me.
It's weird, yeah. Killing 168 people as opposed to the government killing 5 yokels out in the mountains, that's totally justifiable.
Yeah.
It's fucking weird.
Now, part of their plan on April 15th, 1995, they rented a 1993 Ford F700 truck from Ryder, a big old yellow son of a bitch. You don't see him that much very often.
700.
He's a big old boy,
That's
man.
a big one. That's a grave. It was a grave digger.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, Rob.
The monster truck.
My mom didn't have a mullet.
Okay,
Mine
mine did.
Under the name Robert D. Kling, an alias he adopted because he knew an army soldier named Kling, with whom he shared physical characteristics and because it reminded him of the Klingon warriors of Star Trek.
They call me Noodle McVeigh, but I'm the most badass Klingon warrior.
What is dude? I got nothing for Star Trek,
I don't
and I know there's Trekkies out there. I think that's what they're called.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I got nothing for Star Trek. Dungeons and Dragons and Star Trek.
Was that the black guy with the fucked up forehead?
It was.
Was it? Okay.
He looked like he'd been fucking knuckle fucking a turtle or something. Something was wrong with that guy, man.
I don't know what was wrong with him.
He looked like Travis Tritt too.
I don't think I love you anymore.
Now the next day, him and old Terry Nichols drove to Oklahoma City from Kansas and parked a getaway car several blocks from the Alfred Mura Federal Building. They removed the license plates from the car and put a note on it that said, "Not abandoned, please do not tow, will move by April 23rd. So they're taking the license plates off the vehicle, which that's a huge no-no.
Yeah, that's a red flag right there. Big time.
Maybe not back then, but today it is. But on the note, he said the vehicle needs a battery and cables, but it's going to be there for a week. They started to build the bomb itself on April 17th and 18th. They put everything from the stockpile from their storage unit in the Ryder truck they rented. Then they drove to Geary Lake State Park, where they nailed boards onto the floor of the truck to hold the 13 barrels in place and mixed the chemicals using plastic buckets and bathroom scales. Ooh-wee.
I feel like a bathroom scale wouldn't be that reliable to fucking measure out all that shit.
Right. I think the initial plan was they're going to load up one side so that the blast would be more concentrated, but it was going to give the truck too much of a lean. They had an emergency plan where McVeigh would take a Glock 21 and he would shoot the explosives in the back just in case the fuses wouldn't help the bomb detonate. And another quick second stop for our sponsors at Blue Chew. We're really excited to be back with Blue Chew again this week. Rob, I remember a long time ago when I had lots of things going on downstairs. At the drop of a hat, I would just be ready to put it out there, get it up, and get it on. But things change, Rob. Things get a little softer as you get older. It's like an old car. It's still a classic, but it doesn't really work as well as it used to.
Yeah, age can play horrible jokes on you.
It can't, but we can go back in time. It's like getting in a Blue Chew time machine, man. We can go back and try this little pill called Blue Chew. It's chewable, it's blue, but it helps you achieve the things that you couldn't, that you achieved a long time ago.
Now, our friends at Blue Chew, they will have this extra step that you may need, or even if you don't need it, they give you something to give her hell.
Oh, give her all kinds of hell. It's the color blue. That's why they call it Blue Chew, but it has the same FDA-approved active ingredients that are used in Cialis and Viagra, all in a chewable blue pill.
And it is FDA approved, so you don't have anything to worry about. The only thing you gotta worry about is getting your little soldier to stand and salute.
So let me tell you something, Rob. The other day, my mother-in-law, she stopped by with some late Christmas presents. But I was coming out of the shower. I'm standing there in the bathroom. I'm naked. But I was ready to play that night, so I took a Blue Chew.
Okay.
We don't have a lock on the bathroom door. My mother-in-law walks in. I flatten myself against the wall there. She comes in. She doesn't see me. She dries her hands off. She thinks she's throwing the towel on the towel rack. Do you know what it was, Rob?
No, I don't. What was it?
It was all me, man. Just there in all its glory. All its just rock hard, ready to go, and I couldn't have been in that situation. I was a towel rack, Rob. Have you ever been so big that and just ready to go and so hard that a woman's like, wow, is that a towel rack or is that you?
Last time when I used Blue Chew. There you go.
Exactly right. And if you would like to try Blue Chew, you can go to bluechew.com. That's BLUE. CHEW.com and use the promo code BROHIO. Use that promo code, you're going to get your first shipment of Blue Chew free. All you're going to have to do is cover the $5 shipping.
And there's also something good is that you don't have to worry about any type of awkward encounters with your mail person when they deliver it, because it comes in a nice little discreet package, and your secret's safe.
So they're not just handing the Blue Chews out. You got to actually speak. You got to make contact with a medical professional, but they do that via the interwebs. You don't have to go in person to the doctor. They're going to do it all discreetly. You're not going to have to show your face. You can send them pictures of your feet. They might like that at Blue Chew. I'm not sure. But go check them out, bluechew.com. Use the promo code Brohio, and thanks to our friends at Blue Chew for being a proud sponsor of the Brohio podcast. That's BLUECHEW.com. Promo code Brohio for your first shipment free. There's probably some Army veterans listening to us right now, hearing us talk about this shit, and they're like, these guys have no fucking clue what they're talking about.
No, we do not.
I was on the fucking demo team.
If you were on the demo team, write us an email, brohiopodcast@gmail.com. We'd probably like to do a Patreon episode with you. You can
That'd be
remain
pretty cool.
anonymous.
Yeah.
Talk about some of the fucking awesome shit you wired up in the sandbox.
Or some of the fucked up shit you seen.
Yeah, absolutely. Or I think I want to know if it's true or not. I know in prison all the guys fuck each other. I want to see if that's true in the military as well.
If all the prisoners fuck each other.
No. Yeah.
All the soldiers.
Man. Now, they shaped the charge so that it would direct the blast in a certain direction. They put it in a J shape. There was a dual fuse ignition system accessible from the truck's front cab, or as I like to call it, the cockpit.
Hey.
Now, McVeigh's original plan had been to detonate the bomb at 11 a.m., but at dawn on April 19th, 1995, the day it all happened, he said 11 o'clock is too long to wait. Instead, his plans were moved to 9 a.m. that morning. So he moved the time of the bombing up 2 hours on the day of.
This is how fucking impatient he was to kill people. He couldn't wait 2 more hours.
Now, on his person, he had a page from the Turner Diaries.
Of course he did.
At 9:15, there was some, I believe, some FBI surveillance of him driving by. They caught the Ryder truck going in a certain direction. But he also had a T-shirt on that said "Sic Semper Tyrannis," which means "thus always to tyrants." This was what John Wilkes Booth shouted after he assassinated John F. Kennedy. Thomas Jefferson also, with the famous quote, said, "When the government fears the people, there is liberty. When the people fear the government, there is tyranny." Underneath, McVeigh had written, maybe now, on the pages from the Turner Diaries, he wrote, "Maybe now there will be liberty," with a hard-copied quote by John Locke asserting that a man has a right to kill someone who takes away his liberty. He arrived in Oklahoma City at 8:50 a.m. He lit the 5-minute fuse at 8:57 a.m. So I'm not sure what my notes right here of the 9:15 FBI shit. I don't know what when I said that about 5 minutes ago. I don't know what the 9:15 FBI reference is about.
Okay.
But he lit the 5-minute fuse at 8:57. 3 minutes later, a block away from the what's the military slang for the where the explosion's going to happen? The dead zone?
I don't know.
I have no fucking clue.
It's called the noodle spot.
The noodle spot. 3 minutes later, he was a block away from the noodle spot. He lit the 2-minute fuse. He parked the Ryder truck in a drop-off zone situated under the building's daycare center, exited and locked the truck, and as he headed to his gateway vehicle, dropped the keys to the truck a few blocks away. At 9:02 a.m., the truck containing 4,800 pounds of explosives detonated in front of the north side of the 9-story Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building. 168 people were killed and hundreds more were injured. And right now I have some audio of it was a some type of water department meeting that was going on. And I'm going to play the audio of the actual bombing itself heard from this water department meeting.
With regard to this proceeding, basically there are 4 elements that I have to receive information regarding.
Everybody, let's get out of here. Now, what's the electricity line?
There's one more recording after this.
Our firm by attorneys for state and co-personal representatives.
God damn!
What in the world?
Now that was when I was listening to that on my headphones, it blew my fucking head off. But for whatever reason, it didn't come across that loud on the old YouTube to the computer here. obviously, that it measured a 3 on the Richter scale. That there's a really distinct sound you hear, right? It's kind of like a afterwards, and just you can feel that in your gut, man. You can just an explosion like that. There's a lot of our listeners have served in the military, which we're very thankful for you guys.
Very.
They can attest for that sound. There's a sound you hear.
It just kicks you right in the fucking chest.
For instance, there's certain PTSD that you and I probably have. It's not hard to live with, but if I hear keys jingling, or if I hear a stick hit the ground, or for instance, if I hear something like anything kind of hit the ground, I automatically think someone's being attacked by an inmate. Whereas someone from the military hears an explosion like that, there's just a different, that that's not a car backfiring,
right?
Or something falling down. This absolutely something that turns your gut, and there's death and doom involved. So it's hard to capture in an audio clip of how deafening and how much damage that the actual explosion, what it did to the area around the building there.
You can tell just from the sound of it, though, that it was a huge explosion.
Now, 1/3 of the building was destroyed by the explosion, which created a 30-foot wide, 8-foot deep crater on the northwest 5th Street next to the building. The blast destroyed or damaged 324 buildings within a 4-block radius and shattered glass in 258 nearby buildings. The broken glass alone accounted for 5% of the death and 69% of the injuries outside the Mira Federal Building. The blast destroyed or burned 86 cars around the site. There were $652 million worth of damage, and there was this bomb they detonated was the same as a 5,000 pounds of TNT being ignited.
It's a lot of shit.
Yeah. They said it could be heard and felt 55 miles away, so that would be the same as something in Cincinnati going off right now, and us feeling it here in Dayton, Ohio, man. That's insane.
That's crazy.
And like I said, it measured a 3.0 on the Richter scale. Now, initially, the FBI obviously leaned towards radical terrorists, the same terrorists that obviously 9/11 hadn't happened yet, but
the bombing of the
there
World
was an attack on 9/11 before this by Osama bin Laden. They also thought that it was the same terrorists involved there, but they also said that it was possibly a drug cartel with the DEA being right there in that building. As McVeigh was traveling north on I-35 in Perry, Oklahoma, this is within 90 minutes of the bombing, Oklahoma State Trooper Charlie Hanger pulled him over. McVeigh was driving the 1977 Mercury Marquis. It was yellow in color, and it still had no license plate. So for all of the planning this guy did, his main slip-up was not replacing the license plates on the Marquis before he left in the getaway car. I think they still would have probably nailed down Timothy McVeigh had he put the license plate on there. I think that with the evidence they had, they still would have got him. But I think he also would have had the opportunity to kill himself, because he had full intentions of killing himself if it didn't detonate like he wanted the fuse. He had full intentions of shooting. I think the emergency plan of shooting the back of the cab of the truck was in case he got pulled over or something like that, in case he got stopped somehow. But he had full intentions. He was fully prepared to die for his cause. And during some 60 Minutes interviews, he sits down and he said, I'm prepared to die. Like when I was in the Gulf War,
I
accepted that I would die at some point, and death doesn't scare me. And during his 60 Minutes interview, and I wanted to chop him up, and I didn't end up doing that. But he looks at the guy interview. It's the older black gentleman he wears earrings and glasses. He did a lot of fantastic interviews. His name leaves me right now. But he interviews McVeigh, and McVeigh says, I just want to sit down and I want America to see that I'm not the monster that everyone thinks I am.
He even says he's like you sitting right across from me, looking at me. Does this look like the face of a monster? He's like, as everybody's like describing me.
He's just so completely out of his fucking mind that
he's fucking weird.
That it was okay that this happened.
Old noodle.
When he was pulled over, he was arrested for carrying a concealed weapon. He also gave false addresses. He gave the addresses of Nichols' brothers. Now, the trooper Charlie Hanger searched his police car and found a business card. McVeigh had the card hidden he hid it while he was being handcuffed. Written on the back of the back of the card, which was from a Wisconsin military surplus store, were the words, quote, TNT at $5 a stick. Need more.
Okay.
That's not a fucking dead giveaway, is it?
All right.
The card was later used as evidence during McVeigh's trial. And during my infinite research and Facebook searches, Trooper Charlie Hanger is still around, as a matter of fact. I say that because the life expectancy for a police officer is 5 years after retirement. If this happened back in 94,
yeah,
there's no telling how old he would be now. But he's still he's the sheriff of Noble County in Oklahoma. I wrote him on Facebook. He didn't write back, so fuck him.
You know what they say? It's hard to get rid of those hangers.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
But you would have to imagine this would be the ultimate cherry on top of the sundae for his resume. You know, he pulled over and, took into custody Timothy McVeigh right after the OKC bombings.
Oh, yeah, that's bragging rights right there.
It is. Charlie has a huge dick. We haven't seen it, but we know it's a huge dick. The VIN on the axle for the truck that exploded was traced to the Ryder Company that McVeigh used in Junction City, Kansas. McVeigh was also identified by Leah McGowan of the Dreamland Motel, who remembered him parking a yellow Ryder truck in the lot. McVeigh had signed in under his real name at the motel using an address that matched the one on his forged license and the charge sheet at the Perry police station. So like I said, I think with the information they had from the truck axle, they would have eventually linked it back to him. But this definitely, when they first pulled him over, I don't know if they thought, hey, this is our fucking guy. But I would have to imagine.
I don't think that they did. I think that from what I remember, this could be completely inaccurate, but from what I remember, they had him at the station. They were holding him due to all the license not being on the car and everything, and I think they were actually going to let him go, but someone came in and spoke with the police that said, you know what, do not let him go yet. We think that he had something to do with the bombings. Okay. And then, so they held him there longer on those charges while they could do some more research on it.
The lady at the motel where he checked in said that when he went to go sign the documents for the motel, that he, halfway through his signature, he paused and looked up in the air. And that kind of let her know that he wasn't necessarily who he was.
Just trying to remember which name he used.
Yeah, he used a lot of aliases, and he used a lot of different addresses. So he was kind of scattered all over the place with this shit. But when he was taken into custody, he didn't talk, which is... I hate to be that guy.
Smart on his point.
I hate to be that guy, but if you are ever charged with a crime, don't ever talk to the police.
Keep your fucking mouth shut.
I am a huge advocate of the police.
Yeah, so am I.
I have lots of police friends. I hope if you do a horrible fucking crime, tell them what you did. Sing like a canary so you can, be found guilty and put in prison for what you fucking did. But my advice to anyone is don't ever say anything to anyone whenever you're in a criminal predicament.
Yeah. You do not want to, you don't want to give them a leg to stand on.
If you get pulled over and you're drunk, don't do that, side of the road, stick your foot out bullshit, touch your nose.
Nope.
Don't do any of that stuff. Say, officer, I respectfully decline to do this test. Be respectful. Don't be a shithole. Don't be a dickhead. But,
don't do anything without an attorney present.
Get an attorney.
Do not do anything without an attorney present.
Right.
Do not.
Now, like we said, he did get an attorney. And whenever he was to be transported, he requested that he have a vest and a helicopter. This is Timothy McVeigh's request. You can go ahead and shove that straight up your fucking ass if that's what you want to do. And I think what was ingrained in his mind was the image of Randy Weaver and his family being extradited off the mountain in helicopters. And that was kind of the hero's exit that he was looking for as well. But he's not hailed by a hero as anyone. Even the white supremacy groups are like, no. Man, he's this guy's a nut job, and he's proved and solved nothing with what he did. There was immediately after he was taken into custody, there were some warrants signed. They placed bugs inside his father's house to help locate Terry Nichols. I think they weren't initially looking for Terry Nichols. They were looking for Terry Nichols' brothers because the addresses that Timothy McVeigh was using was Terry Nichols' brothers' addresses. Then, after they eventually arrived at the conclusion they weren't looking for Terry Nichols' brothers, they started to look for Terry Nichols himself. Investigators discovered incriminating evidence at his home, which was ammonium nitrate, and this is the home of Terry Nichols. Ammonium nitrate and blasting caps, the electric drill used to drill out the locks at the quarry, books on bomb making, a copy of Hunter, a 1989 novel by William Pierce, the founder and chairman of the National Alliance and White Nationalist Group, and a hand-drawn map of downtown Oklahoma City on which the Mura building and the spot where McVeigh's getaway car was hidden was actually marked. There was also a Middle Eastern guy by the name of Ibrahim Ahmad. He was heading to Jordan from Oklahoma City. He was stopped and detained because absolutely anytime anything like this happens, we have to blame it on radical Islamic terrorists.
It's got to be a brown person.
It's got to be a Middle Eastern gentleman that looks like Jesus.
Right.
He was eventually let go because he had absolutely nothing to do with it.
Right.
There was around 646 people inside the building when the bomb was detonated. At the end of the first day, there were 14 deaths and 14 adults were killed. This is all they knew at that point, and there were 6 kids that were dead. There were 100 injured on the first day, and by the ending of it, there were 168 that had passed away. So you think the actual detonation of the bomb itself is what killed a lot of people, but a majority of the people died from the collapse of the building. This is a hard thing to talk about, but some of the rescuers that went inside the building, they said that you would just you would be in certain parts, and then you would look up above you, and you would start to see blood seeping through the ceiling, where like a body had eventually just collapsed essentially.
Yeah,
and
smashed.
Yeah. And that was happening all over during the rescue process. And at one point, while the investigators are really deep into the rescuers are really deep into the search and recovery, there was another device that was located that they thought, okay, this is another bomb. So they started screaming for everyone that was part of the search and rescue to get to remove from the scene. But I think there was a child they were dealing with that had part of the structure collapse on their leg, and they had to do an amputation to remove the child from the scene. And the doctors and the people that were there working on this child, they couldn't get. There was like a main artery or vein that they're trying to cut to remove the leg the rest of the way, and they couldn't get it cut with the tools they had. And then everyone started shouting, "There's another bomb! There's another bomb!" These guys said, "No, we're not fucking leaving. We're getting this kid out." And then eventually, the doctor whipped out a pocket knife and was able to sever that artery or that vein and get the leg amputated and get the kid out of there. But it speaks volumes to the fucking spirit of the people that do this shit. The search and rescue teams. You take on it takes a different type of personality, a different person to run towards darkness, to run towards danger. And you got to respect people like that. There's people out there that don't want to talk about it. They've gone through it. They don't want to talk about it, but you got to respect them for the shit they've done.
Definitely.
The firefighters at 9/11, fucking heroes, man.
Huge balls.
Yeah.
Huge balls.
Even our nation's, the people that fight in the military, man. These guys, our law enforcement officers, not all of them, most of them, they run towards the shit that's going down. I'm now at a part in a point in my life. If my family's with me, I don't want to run towards the shit that's going down. I want to get my family and get the fuck out of there.
Yep.
I don't want to be the one going down in a blaze of glory in the mall. I carry a firearm because legally I'm allowed to, and I think that we live in a time where it doesn't hurt to have a firearm. My kids are completely well-versed in firearm safety. They know what they're supposed to do. I lock my firearm up. I keep it away. I keep it, I'm not going to tell you how I keep my firearm because then you ever come to my house, you'll know what to expect. But just know my firearm can't be, obtained by my children. My kids don't know where I keep my firearm. But if you fucking come fuck with me, you're going to find out where I keep my firearm.
Yeah, I got like 50 Nerf guns all over the house.
Right, it's going down.
You're not leaving the house without a welt somewhere on you.
And I don't like guns. I don't like to shoot guns. I'm not like,
Oh man, look at this fucking gun. Look how fucking fast the bullets come out of this goddamn gun right here.
I love shooting guns, but I'm not a nerd about
I
it.
don't like cars either that much.
I don't
Cars
either,
don't
yeah.
fucking 40 miles a gallon. Now you're speaking my fucking language.
Right. Got 600 horsepower. I don't give a shit. When am I ever going to use that?
Right. Now, McVeigh's later response to the range of casualties, he said, quote, "I didn't define the rules of engagement in this conflict. The rules, if not written down, are defined by the aggressor. It was brutal, no holds barred. Women and kids were killed at Waco and Ruby Ridge. You put back in the government's face exactly what they're giving out." Yeah, so the prosecution called 137 witnesses. They called the 40As, and they testified against McVeigh, and they provided the information that the prosecutors need to convict McVeigh. Michael Fortier and Lori, his wife, he told them all the plans that they had planned to do. I mean, they knew everything that he was going to do. They did this for immunity. They were incarcerated eventually, but they did this for immunity, essentially. McVeigh was represented by a defense counsel team of 6 principal attorneys led by Stephen Jones. They didn't have a leg to stand on as far as their defense for him. There was all kinds of wild defenses that McVeigh feared he was an imminent danger from the government, and that's why he pulled off these attacks. There was nothing that McVeigh had to stand on at this point.
What did they enter as their plea?
Not guilty, I believe.
They did plead not guilty?
Yes. The attorneys tried to portray that he was part of a bigger picture, that he was a patsy. And if for those of you listening that don't know what a patsy is, that's where you're getting a really fast hand job and she stops and starts smacking you right on the tip of your penis. That's a patsy. So Rob's going to tell you about the patsies here in just a second. He also argued that it couldn't have been done by 2 guys and that there was more than McVeigh involved, obviously. And there was also an unaccounted for leg that was recovered from the scene. So the attorneys argued that this leg wasn't from someone that was blown up. And this was a second bomber that was involved that kind of did all of the major moving and shaking of the actual bombing itself. Isn't that fucking stupid?
Yeah.
There were 8 people buried without legs, Rob. And these guys were arguing that this missing leg, they eventually matched the leg up with an Air Force member that had been murdered in the bombing. The jury deliberated for 23 hours. Why it took that long, I have no idea. But on June 2nd, 1997, McVeigh was found guilty on 11 counts of murder and conspiracy, although the defense argued for a reduced sentence of life imprisonment. McVeigh was sentenced to death. In May of 2001, the Justice Department announced that FBI had mistakenly failed to provide over 3,000 documents to McVeigh's defense counsel. Good fucking job, FBI.
Way to go.
That did very little as far as saving McVeigh. They went back and looked at that shit. They said this is not going to overturn his conviction. George Bush signed off on the execution. And on June 11th, 2001, in Terre Haute, Indiana, Federal Correctional Complex, he was executed via lethal injection on a closed-circuit television. And the relatives of the victims were allowed to witness his execution. It was the first federal execution in 38 years. Now, Terry Nichols was sentenced to 161 life sentences. He was not executed. Now, this is pretty neat. Michael and Lori Fortier were considered accomplices for their foreknowledge of the planning of the bombing, in addition to Michael assisting McVeigh in scouting the federal building, because initially, when McVeigh went to look at the building, Michael was with him. Lori had helped McVeigh laminate a fake driver's license, which was later used to rent the Ryder truck. Fortier agreed to testify against McVeigh and Nichols in exchange for a reduced sentence and immunity for his wife. He was sentenced on May 27, 1998 to 12 years in prison and fined $75,000 for failing to warn authorities about the truck. So he had the blood of all of these people on his hands. And he was sentenced to 12 years in prison. On January 20th, 2006, after serving 10 and a half years of a sentence, including time already served, Fortier was released for good behavior into the Witness Protection Program and given a new identity. When McVeigh was asked if there were other conspirators in the bombing, he replied, "You can't handle the truth because the truth is I blew up the Murrah building and it isn't And isn't it kind of scary that one man could wreak this kind of hell?
That's a fucking cocky ass
Yeah, it
explanation or quote there.
Yeah. So tell us about the
Fucking noodle, man. That
take
guy.
us through a few of the conspiracies, Rob.
Yeah, let me pull up my notes here.
Pull it out for me.
All right, well, the first one I will touch on is that it wasn't just McVeigh and Nichols. This is one of the theories that there was more conspirators.
It's Kitty down there. Just be careful.
I was like, I thought that was you rubbing your foot against my leg. I was like, oh shit, man.
Not yet.
It's about to go down.
It's Kitty Cat.
So, multiple witnesses claim that they saw a second person in the vehicle with McVeigh around the time of the bombing. And investigators actually ended up calling him John Doe number 2.
Oh, wow.
Now, a man named Michael Brescia, that's probably wrong, but I'm going to go with that, was arrested by the FBI. He actually resembled an artist rendering based off of that eyewitness's description of the person in the vehicle with him. He was a member of the Aryan Republican Army, but was later released after the investigators reported that he wasn't involved. A Washington Post reporter said this about the existence of John Doe 2. This is a pretty good quote. Maybe he'll be captured and convicted someday. If not, he'll remain eternally at large. The one who got away, the mystery man at the center of countless conspiracy theories. It's possible that he never lived. It's likely that he'll never die.
Wow.
That's a really good quote.
Yeah,
because if you think about it, there's so many conspiracy theories where there's this mysterious person that you never figure anything out about. And that way, he never will die.
No, I think McVeigh had he was a loose lip dude, man.
Yeah.
Noodle was very upfront about who was helping him, and he hung his hat on the fact that, hey, I fucking did this by myself.
Right.
I pulled this off by myself.
Yeah. And an ATF informant filed a police report in 1995 stating that a member of a white supremacist group named Andreas Strassmeyer had been talking about destroying a government building and actually visited the same building with another male. And this is, the mirror building. 2 days after the bombing, the informant urged the ATF to look into that report. McVeigh is also connected to that group as well, the white supremacist group. He is known to have called them 2 weeks before the bombing. I think you mentioned that. And then there was indications that he visited days later after he'd already been there to recruit people. And there was a woman named Jane Graham who worked at the Mirror Building and survived the bombing and said that she saw multiple people who seemed suspicious to her. They were wearing maintenance and military outfits, and she'd never seen them on site before.
And that's crazy to think about that, man, because someone in that position, every single day you're gonna know who's coming and going if you're in a front door type position like that. But for her to think specifically on that day, like
she can recall specifically,
there was some weird characters around.
Right.
There was some really weird dudes around. That almost speaks volumes for me, honestly.
Definitely. And she actually gave this statement to law enforcement, but this was actually ignored. And
that's good.
She actually, one of these workers, she was shown images of these people and actually positively ID'd one of these workers as Strassmeyer. So
holy shit,
she was able to positively ID one of these guys as one of a potential co-conspirator in this.
That's super.
But everything was just ignored and left. And there was also the speculation that there was a leg that was found at the bomb site that may have belonged to an unidentified bomber.
I talked about the leg.
Yeah. They said that they thought that it may have either been another bomber that had died in an explosion, or what had possibly happened was, he was murdered by McVeigh and then left in the back of the van.
Okay.
And during the explosion to get rid of the evidence. So that's kind of, that one's kind of out there. I definitely do see the hole where there possibly could have been multiple people that we just don't know about, and so McVeigh is just keeping tight lips about it.
I didn't research the conspiracies at all. But I'm thinking about when we first started this podcast, there was so much stuff that I didn't know about. I didn't know about the, certain mind control conspiracies, the government,
Right.
all this stuff that I've learned and read about. I'm like, oh my God. And now I see why some people are cooped up in their basement and don't come out because they're afraid of certain things happening from the government. And when we first started out, we got I think it's on our Patreon, we got a really weird letter that someone wrote us through snail mail.
Oh, yeah.
And we never put that letter, I'd never put my address out there at that point. And this letter came through, and it's saying it's a person that's in prison. And I'll have to read this letter again.
Yeah.
Because we had about 2 listeners there. We have about 24 listeners now. This letter that I received in the mail, handwritten, partially typed, is the fucking craziest shit you've ever heard in your entire life, okay?
It's crazy.
But the MK Ultra project, where the CIA has confirmed to be performing mind control stuff on our own people.
Oh, yeah, it happened.
And we've read about these Manchurian candidates where these people will perform world-altering acts specifically like this, because I don't know a single person in the entire world that can just have balls big enough to drive a truck full of explosive next to a federal building and blow it up and just walk away and say, fuck this, fuck the government. There has to be an ulterior, there's got to be something back there pushing them past a certain threshold. And we talk about these Manchurian candidates where the government has trained certain minds to do certain things.
Yeah. There's pretty much, there's an alternate personality that's triggered by a trigger word.
Yeah.
That pretty much starts it and stops it.
Right.
And so pretty much they would use drugs and other types of
there's all kinds of exercises they would use to
Yeah.
break these people down and reconfigure and rewire their brains to
Yeah.
work to their benefit. And to say that Timothy McVeigh was possibly a Manchurian candidate, I think would be an insult to the people that were murdered during that day. But for me, for all the people I've met in my life, I worked in a fucking state prison. There was more life sentences in this prison that I worked in on this side of the Mississippi than any other prison in the entire United States.
Right.
I worked around a lot of people that did a lot of fucked up shit, and I would talk to them because I am completely infatuated with the criminal mind. These guys expressed remorse for their single murders, for their single acts of a moment of weakness where they're on drugs or whatever. Never did I hear someone say, I killed and I'll kill again. I understand there's terrorists out there that do bad things.
Yeah, there are people that are like that.
99.9% chance Timothy McVeigh acted on his own fucking piece of his own shitty
Yeah.
will.
Say Eileen Wuornos was like that. She knew she shouldn't go back out because she knows she'll kill more people.
Yeah.
She even said it.
Honestly. But there's a little tiny piece of granular sand in the back of my mind that thinks, what if there was something that helped him hop along to this,
Right.
something, because he was in the military, he went to ranger school, he did all these things around the U.S. government that soured him. And I'm not a huge government conspiracy guy,
Mhm.
but the more I read about this stuff, I'm like, man, there's people out there that have gone through some shit with our government. And I don't know. I just think it's cool to think about that there's potentially a project out there that our government have trained people to do things like this. I don't think it's fucking cool, the acts that this guy committed. I just think that it's cool that there's possibly
just the different theories.
some projects out there going
Right.
on like this.
Yeah, it is really interesting to think about, and that's the thing is that you don't know,
Don't know.
and that's
You don't know unless you know.
exactly. And if you know, then you know. So the next we have is the theory regarding the explosives. So this theory states that there was a cover-up involving the existence of additional explosives that were planted in the Murrah building. So local news reported at the time, and we know how crazy the news is once an incident just happened. There's going to be inaccurate reports. You see that about pretty much any disaster that ever happens. They reported that there was a second and third bomb within hours of the explosion. It is also believed that there is inconsistencies between the amount of damage that the bomb caused in relation to the bomb itself. So a man by the name of Samuel T. Cohen, and he's the primary inventor, he's one of the primary inventors of the neutron bomb. He didn't believe that this fertilizer bomb was capable of creating this much damage. And this idea was also shared by Air Force Brigadier General Benton K. Parton. he believed that there had to have been more than one explosive charge. Especially, like I said, if you get a chance to look at the pictures, it's just enough. You got enough enough fertilizer explosive to fit inside of a small moving van, essentially. And this caused this much, wreaked this much havoc. And there was a seismograph reading that they showed that you can see 2 spikes. So you can see which would show there could have been possibly 2 blasts. But what they're explaining is that they're saying that the initial bomb blast was the first one, and then the collapse of the building was actually the second.
Yeah.
So, you can, to me, the seismograph reading, I could definitely see how it could be the collapse is the second one, depending on how much it varied from the initial. There's this clip here, this part right here that I actually copy and pasted because it was really good and I didn't want to misquote it. Yeah. It's a good one. So it says, in 1997, the U.S. Inspector General Agency reviewed the Justice Department and FBI crime lab based on allegations of chemist Frederick Whitehurst that the lab was poorly managed and operated. Among other findings, as summarized by CNN, the review determined that the FBI investigation into the Oklahoma City bombing was sloppy and partisan rather than scientifically objective.
Wow.
The FBI lab relied on scientifically unsound conclusions that were based in favor of the prosecution, and supervisors approved lab reports that they cannot support, and that FBI lab officials may have erred about the size of the mirror building blast, the amount of explosives involved, and the type of explosives used in the bombing. Additionally, FBI examiners could not identify the triggering device for the truck bomb or how it was detonated, and the evidence did not even support the theory that ammonium nitrate fertilizer was the primary explosive. So, what I remember about this is that they had a lot of pressure. The labs had a lot of pressure from the FBI at this time to crunch all this evidence to get everything submitted. And if something could remotely fit, they were pushing it. They wanted to put a nail in this coffin and, just get this punishment.
I think they put the nail in the right coffin. I think they hammered the right fucking guy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, whether or not, going back to the first one, it was solely or, majorly him, there could have been other people. We don't know.
Yeah.
But that's definitely, a where there's smoke, there's fire type deal. Oof. And then the last one, I think this is the last one, and this is revolving the good old government, the government involvement in this.
Oh.
So this theory alleges that the then President Slick Willie, old Bill Clinton himself,
had sexual relations.
He had either approved the bombing or knew about it ahead of time and didn't prevent it, thus giving them a reason to go after these extreme groups and put in place anti-terrorism legislation, similar to what is believed to happen with 9/11.
Yeah, think about the blood on the hands of the fucking Clintons to begin with.
Yeah,
that would not surprise me at all for him to not this specific act, but
right. So the New York Times published a letter that McVeigh wrote to his sister in 1993. And this is where McVeigh said that while at Fort Bragg, he and 9 others were recruited into a black ops program to smuggle drugs into the U.S., which I don't really think this is a conspiracy. I think we actually know this stuff happens. Right. So, and this is quoted from his letter. It says, they were to work hand in hand with civilian police agencies to quiet anyone who was deemed a security risk. So in parentheses, it says, we would be government-paid assassins. So Terry Nichols also said that McVeigh told him in December of 92 that he had been recruited to carry out undercover missions, where he went to gun shows to make contact with these networks of far-right sympathizers, which led to armed robberies and bombings that was planned under the direction of FBI agent Larry A. Potts. So,
heavy shit.
Right, so this circles back to the fact that maybe with kind of like the war in Iraq, that we knew or we had some other type of, whether or not the government orchestrated it or they had prior knowledge to the fact that, this bombing was going to happen. This is going to give them that leeway to go ahead and go after these extreme groups, to push some type of control.
Right.
Kind of like just a false flag operative, pretty much the same thing that they did with, the terrorist attacks in 9/11, which is one of the theories,
Yeah.
So,
man.
yeah, it's you don't know. You can just go with the story. I mean, the story itself is fucked up enough to think
It's
that
easy,
somebody would
yeah.
kill. You put this much work into
I think
killing.
That's the safe narrative to go with.
Absolutely.
What's put in front of you, but
Yeah, I mean,
there's
because
more to think about for sure.
yeah, there definitely is, and I would definitely say McVeigh is the responsible party.
Yeah.
I think we did get the right guy.
Yeah.
I hope.
I hope so as well.
But I think that lethal injection was too good for him.
It was.
I think that we should have tied 2 of his arms to one horse, his legs to another one, and just fucking let him run.
I think 40 guys should have pissed in his mouth till he drowned.
That would have been good too.
I want to pee in a guy's mouth so bad. So let's bring in our buddy Justin Rockwell. He's the Patreon sponsor. We'll get him on the horn real quick.
Thank you, sir.
All right, we're here with our Patreon sponsor, Justin. Justin, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. A little cold here in Iowa, but other than that, fantastic.
I called you a few minutes ago. You're like, I'm at the hotel. I'm like, man, did you guys lose power there or something?
No, we're staying in a hotel for my wife's got work the next couple days out of town, so they put us up in a hotel, the whole family. So.
Yeah, you guys move around a lot, don't you?
She does a little bit for her work here and there, training and stuff like that. We usually get these little hotel stays, so it's nice little vacations.
Yeah, that's cool. There's nothing more enjoyable than staying in a hotel with a child. I know that. So.
Yeah, 2 of them, 2 and 5. That's great.
So all this week I've been talking to Justin, and Justin's been just a nervous fucking wreck. I said, buddy, we're going to ease you into it. It's going to be nice and easy. And the cool thing about it is if you shit the bed, Justin, I just go back and I hit pause and delete, and we start from the beginning. So you got nothing to worry about. You got nothing to worry about, man.
Perfect. I don't believe you.
Is it like negative? Was it like, what's the wind chill there right now in Iowa?
It's the car said -3.
Okay.
Right now.
And if the wind's
and
blowing,
that's our high for tomorrow. Is -3 for a high. They shut down the goddamn postal service tomorrow already.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't think that ever happens.
No, that doesn't ever happen. They canceled school for my kids for tomorrow already.
Yeah, they're saying -40.
God damn, man.
For wind chill. Yep.
I can't wait to go outside and pee in that.
I almost did right before the phone call, but I figured that wouldn't be good in town.
In spirit of science, you should have did it.
Yep.
So we talked about the Oklahoma City bombings this week. You and I went back and forth with 100 different topics. We settled on the Oklahoma City bombings, and man, there's a lot of meat to that story. There's a lot going on.
There is.
There's a lot of conspiracies we covered. There's a lot of just a lot of moving parts to that story. One thing that fascinated me was the fact, I think about Manchurian candidates, which I'm not sure you're familiar with. Are you familiar with that at all?
Yeah.
So that the government has created an animal that can carry out these, devious kind of single cell type acts just at the snap of a finger. And I don't think Timothy McVeigh was a Manchurian candidate, but you have to think about something weird, some type of mind control, something extra that pushed him to get him over that hump to
definitely
to carry out something like this.
I don't think he was Manchurian government type. It almost seems like more like what mind control that pushed him over was the white supremacist groups. Really got him amped up. I think he was already a loose cannon, and then the white supremacists really pushed him over the edge.
Yeah,
he's definitely not the Sirhan type.
I agree. And then I'm reading about all the interactions he had at gun shows, man, and that just gives me a whole new outlook on gun shows. The turd balls are at that are at fucking gun shows. But I hate to lump everyone because I go to gun shows with my dad all the time, and we don't ever talk to anybody. But just to think that I've never even really taken into consideration that there's a lot of underhanded white supremacy deals and kind of radical ideology that's going on at these gun shows and stuff like that. I know a lot of people want to shut the gun shows down or whatever. That's not what we're here to debate, but it kind of struck me as interesting how much white supremacy dealing is going on at these gun shows today.
Yeah, I've never been to one, so I don't really. even have any experience on that. But
You're not missing much, dude.
You definitely liked them.
We go for a soft pretzel. Me and my dad, we like go for a Pepsi and a pretzel and look at guns. So it's
Yeah.
there's definitely a lot of different characters of these things, man. It's hard to hard to explain, but you definitely get a weird vibe going to these things.
Yeah. So if you're a Timothy McVeigh and you're looking for those kind of people, you're going to find them there. If they're looking for you, you're going to pick out a Timothy McVeigh pretty easy.
Yeah,
and he liked those gun shows.
He was just so far off the reservation with his thinking and just the way that.
Oh,
for being usually someone that serves in the military, and aren't you a veteran?
No, I'm not.
Okay, for some reason I was thinking you were, but there's Timothy. Usually the guys that I know that were involved in Operation Desert Storm or Iraqi Freedom, they will tell you like, yeah, we weren't necessarily there we were maybe there for things we didn't know, but we were proud to be there for our country, and it's very seldom do you get these guys that serve in these small conflicts that come out saying, the government is doing the fucking world wrong, and I got to right this wrong by killing, hundreds of innocent Americans. That's something that kind of really rubbed me the wrong way. And it struck me as weird as well that he came out thinking like that.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, he did something. Definitely something wasn't right going into, from the get-go with him.
I think he got raped in the military. What do you think, Justin?
Probably. Well, did you come across the story about his homosexual experiences?
No, we didn't, but thanks. You go ahead and let us know right now, man.
There's something about a guy picked him up, and they went back. It wasn't like a pay to play or anything. It's just just a hookup. And they were trying. This guy made some comment about how McVeigh had good tonsil and throat action.
Oh,
but
no.
They never got to climax. And then they said they never hooked up again, but they would see each other around town, like at the grocery store, and just be like awkward situations of and so
God.
He was messed up.
Jeez,
there's
man.
Something.
That's cool. Tonsil and throat action. That's hot though. That kind of turns me on.
Yeah, it is.
I can't wait to tell.
I've heard Rob say that about you.
No, you have not. I can't wait to tell Rob about that. I'm like, man, how did you miss? Because he did most of the research this week, and I'm like, man, out of all the stuff that you missed, how did you miss this? Because
I can't remember where I heard that. I heard it on something.
When I set Rob down, I'm like, look, buddy, you got the ball this week. You're running. He usually does a really good job with the research. It's just I got to set him down at the beginning of the week and say, hey, man, it's all on you this week. And he's like, all right, man, I got you.
He needs to step it up. You can't miss the details like that.
I think we gotta let him know. Start digging in the gay stuff a little more. He'll be happy to oblige. I love that he's not here to defend himself.
Yeah.
So now with the Oklahoma City bombings, obviously one of the ultimate acts of just disgusting terrorism. But are there any other super conspiracies out there that you kind of subscribe to? You got a lot of we don't cover aliens a lot, but we got a lot of people that lean towards extraterrestrial stuff. We got a lot of intergovernment workings and Illuminati shit. Is there anything that tickles Justin's pickle a little more than the other stuff as far as the conspiracy angle?
A little bit of all of it. I love all of it, but JFK is my number one. I'll always get down a deep rabbit hole with JFK.
What do you think?
Pretty much anything.
What do you think happened with JFK?
Oh man, I always go back and forth depending on what you listen to, but I just don't think it's what they said it was.
No way, man.
And I don't think Harvey Oswald did it on his own. And Jack Ruby fucked the whole thing up.
He really did.
We would have got so much more information and stuff if it wasn't for him. So
I think he had good intentions, but I think he But then again, he might not have acted on the will of Jack Ruby. That's part of it. He might have been He might have been working for someone else.
That's true. Another Manchurian.
We got to. I can't wait for us to do a JFK episode. That one's going to be like 5 hours long.
Yeah, those are always good.
We
even doing a Bobby Kennedy one, a Sirhan Sirhan. That one's super awesome too.
Yeah, the whole Kennedy. We did that Kennedy conspiracy episode. And there's just so much with that family, man. That just it wasn't just JFK. There's just so much.
It's crazy.
A dark cloud over that entire family. It's so weird.
Oh. Ted and then his sister.
Yeah, the sister they kept locked up like she was gonna fucking eat everybody.
Yeah, and they gave her the lobotomy.
Yeah, I need one of those. I think it'd be a better performer if I had one of those. Well, man, I'm really excited that we finally got to your episode. I know it's been a while, but we're backed up with these things. But chatting with you all this week, I think I've definitely got a new friend on the other side of the United States, so it's really
cool.
It's been an honor, man, getting to know you and going through this stuff with you, and I'm happy with the topic you picked.
Yeah, I'm glad you rejected the first 10.
Well, I didn't reject them. You and I talked through it, and one of the
you basically threw my list back in my face and said, "This is shit. Find something interesting."
Absolutely not. We'll talk.
No,
there's
a lot of good topics out there.
I think when Rob and I talked, a couple of the topics you gave us, we're going to do Patreon episodes on, because there's small nuggets that we can kind of dig into for 20 or 30 minutes, but not necessarily an hour and a half episode. Like the one topic you recommended were children of serial killers and what they're doing now. It's super. I thought it would be a super topic, but there's only one or two of them that have ever even made themselves available to the public to speak about anything going on. So. They definitely had a lot to say, just as far as us. It would just be us knuckle fucking each other for an hour and a half trying to squeeze a full show out of it. But you definitely gave us some good stuff to run on. So.
Good.
And I hope you can keep the family warm there in Iowa tomorrow. I don't know. Hopefully there's going to be a lot of fucking car problems tomorrow. I know that. I'm in the garage, so I'm not looking forward to tomorrow morning. So.
Yeah, I'm just hoping when I get home on Thursday, the furnace is still working.
Yeah, I fucking hope so, dude. I told you my Iowa story where I went on like a church missions trip, and they set us up with this family in Iowa, and I had to stay the night there and sleep on their floral couch. And it was in the middle of the winter. It was like -12, -15, and the electric went out. The furnace went out in the middle of the night, and about 4 a.m. I wake up, I'm like, oh, like my teeth are chattering and shit. I can see my breath. And I just dug in, dude. I wrapped up my blanket and covered my head, and I went back to sleep. And then they woke me up with breakfast that next morning around, 8 a.m. And they said, "Did you feel the furnace go out last night?" I'm like, feel the fucking furnace go out last night? Of course I felt the furnace go out last night. Jesus Christ. And they're like, yeah, it's not a big deal. It happens all the time. It's like they're just used to their bones being so cold that if they fall, they just all fucking shatter.
Oh, I'm not used to it yet. I'm ready to get out of this state.
Where are you originally from?
I'm from Iowa, born and raised.
Okay. All right. Well,
Yep.
One of my favorite wrestlers is from Iowa. Are you familiar with Seth Rollins?
Seth Rollins? I don't know him.
You don't watch any wrestling, do you?
Nope, not anymore. We used to back in the day.
Yeah, well, everyone watched it back in the day. I still watch it because I'm an overgrown child. But Seth Rollins won the Royal Rumble last night, so he's got some dick pics online too. If you're interested in that as well.
Oh, nice! I'll definitely check that out.
Check that out. You got like about a
never give those up.
A 9.5 incher. If that's what you're into. All right.
At least.
All right. Well, while you have me here, do you have any like deep questions for the delicious Nickalicious while you have me here in front of all the millions and millions of people around the world?
Oh, I don't. You guys are pretty much an open book.
Oh, yeah, we are.
The question that I think of is probably already been answered or going to get answered soon.
In the beginning of the episode...
You guys don't hold anything back, and I love it.
In the beginning of the episode, we discussed whether we're morning people or night guys when it comes to making love. So that's what the Patreon-sponsored episode of Justin entails, is Rob and I going back and forth about how we just don't touch women with morning breath. Not true.
I say if it's up, it's going. If it's up, it's going in. It doesn't matter what time.
Okay, I like that. I'm using that one. I'm gonna tell her next time. Like, look, it's up, so it's got to go. It's going in. She'll definitely be down to clown at that point.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. Well, I'm going to stop recording here, but I'm going to keep on talking to you after I hang up. But I just want to say thank you so much for your wife doing this, and thank you for your generous support. And we loved covering this topic for you, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the call, and thanks for doing it. I'll probably be buying another episode, but I'm going to do it in-house this time. We're coming to Ohio.
Oh, yeah. All right, buddy. Thanks a lot.
All right, thanks.